Hopefully, I kind of heard the session. I missed the session initially, but I'll probably have a corollary question. All right, so I think it's 2:15 and we are already streaming live. Thank you so much. This is Jaideep Kevalamani, your host for the day. Thank you so much for joining us for the 7th edition of Compliance 1010. It's been a great first half so far, and as we kind of step into the post-lunch sessions, it's going to get even more exciting. We have with us Nehal and Sarang here from our very exciting BFSI panel. You just heard them. I know you have a lot of questions. We have picked them up from the chat messages you sent and have curated them for Nehal and Sarang. If you have questions for any of the moderators, any of the panelists, we'll be sending it to them offline and getting answers. We have Jyoti here who heads our delivery. She would be asking the questions to the panelists and the moderator, Anita. Over to you, Jyoti.
I think she wanted me to ask one of them. I think she said.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Okay. How are the entities in the financial and insurance sector adopting the digital transformation? So this is our first question.
Okay. Should I go?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. So in our fund management industry, most of the things are getting digitized for last couple of years. Of course, the speed has gone up very high in last 6 months to 8 months. If you look at a customer, the entire adoption is now happening online. When it comes to serving customers, also everything is online. Earlier, people were actually kind of having a different strategy of having a multiple branches to adopt a lot of clients from interior part of India. Now they would relook at that strategy, whether they need to have a kind of so many branches, because now everyone has everyone is more flexible to access to the digital platform, such as a website, or maybe kind of your application, or maybe like some of the portals are available for transactions, which is very, very, very convenient for any customer services. When it comes to day-to-day functioning internally within the organization, I think that is also has been completely paperless, I would say. This recent pandemic has definitely changed the way we work. It's completely paperless now. I mean, I come from a company secretary compliance background where, I mean, we do deal with the papers actually when we have to read a document or agreements, right? Now everything is completely like, we are now getting used to, and in fact, we are almost used to with that paperless office. And the communication with the regulators, the directors are also completely digitized. The directors, who are basically a very senior citizen categories and very senior in the cadre, earlier they also used to have little bit kind of that we need a paper to read it. Now those things also has gone completely. They are okay with us sending them an email and getting approval on the email. So I think it is overall shift has happened, and I'm sure it is going to get continued further. Is what from my side.
Thank you.
If I may just add to what Nehal just mentioned, and I'll touch upon the insurance sector also, but I'll also cover the other BFSI segments because some of the segments of BFSI like banks and NBFCs are distributors to insurance companies for their insurance products as well. And so let me start by saying that I think digital transformation, or we call digital or digitize, information technology, whatever terminology we use, I think this transformation process is a reality, and all institutions from BFSI sector are adopting it with great speed. And with this pandemic, I think so the speed has only enhanced. The transformation process has enhanced. I think companies have taken bigger steps and leaps in terms of reaching to a particular stage, which generally they would have taken it some time to transact. And let me give some examples. Let me start by also first acknowledging that I think the lawmakers and the regulators have been over a period of time recognizing that digital or non-face-to-face or information technology is the new way of doing things, and they have recognized this, through various regulations. If I have to talk specifically of insurance, generally, we used to hear distribution of insurance happening face-to-face. I think the regulatory provisions which came for all intermediaries, whether it's like corporate agents, whether it's brokers, web aggregators, insurance companies also now, the regulator now recognizes that you can do online, and there are various digital avenues of conducting business. At the same time, I think the servicing angle has transformed significantly. And digital transformation has been the center of it, to bring ease and convenience to the customers through the simplified tools and mechanisms. I'll just give one example. PNB MetLife, launched AI-based customer servicing app for its customers, and it is backed with machine learning as well. What it helps, and customers can get servicing on their fingertips. You don't need to necessarily visit branches for your servicing needs. What we used to conventionally do, and Nehal talked about it, how branches are getting transformed into electronic branches, what we may say. So I think on the both fronts, in the distribution front and the servicing front as well, I think digital transformation is very, very evident, and rightfully so as well, because that's what the need of the hour and the essence of the hour as well is.
So I just would add, a few things that, in the last 6 months, I mean, there are a few fund houses who have launched a product. And the product, which is we call new fund offer or initial public offer in case of, let's say, listed company for fundraising, has also completely happened on the digital world. There is no paper application has been made by a single investors. I mean, we have seen right issues or of Reliance Industries, which is one of the largest industry. We have seen so many back-to-back right issues, public offers, new primary market issuance, and new fund offers in case of mutual industry. Everything has happened through digital. I mean, I think it is going to continue. It is just I would say it is also a very cost effective, if you ask me, because earlier when the company used to kind of, organizes the annual general meeting, they used to book the hall and they used to arrange so many things basically, right? Now they just have to have their in-house setup done to digital mode, and then the thousands of people can participate through this mode. And you imagine the cost saving for the listed company. And that goes for all the conferences and event. Of course, one-to-one in-personal touch is extremely essential. But you look at the shareholder perspective, they can actually access to the AGM or the critical creditors board, creditors meeting, everything through phone or through laptop or through iPads, everything. So the world is completely open now. And there is no bottleneck, actually speaking. Everything is very transparent, and you just get the information very quickly. So I think, yes, overall, things are moving in extremely very interesting phase, and all of us have to keep.
I think she has a little bit of audio issue.
Internet, yeah, just lost her, no? The last
No,
few sentences.
There she is.
Sorry, Emma.
Just the last few sentences, Neha.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Sorry, am I audible now?
Yes.
No, so what I'm saying, the way the everything is like digitized in terms of the annual general meeting, extraordinary general meeting, your primary issuance. If you look last 6 months, there are so many issuance have come, and most of the primary issue in terms of IPO have oversubscribed substantially. Same is with the case of new fund offering mutual fund industry. There are a couple of funds have come into equity space, and all of them have done extremely well. Actually speaking, there is no physical meeting with investors or bankers or distributors. Everything is happening on Zoom and through digital marketing. Still, the response is exceedingly well, actually speaking. So I think, I'm sure, I mean, overall things are moving into a right direction, and it will save also cost in long-term perspective.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question over here. So we're talking about cost savings and new ways of working. We have a panel coming up that will talk about the role of the independent directors, and I'm sure one of the subjects that they will touch about is the stakeholder engagement. And we were in conversation with a large organization. It's typically known for their large AGMs. That when they ran it digitally, the count actually went 3x, and they were nearly at a record-breaking number. So it's also creating better engagement with your stakeholders. But the question that I have is, we had the same question for the pharma panel as well. Clearly, the BFSI sector is also primed for shift, paradigm shift as it happens. So, Neil and Sarang, what in your view would be the opportunity to make that shift, and how can we make that shift happen? What is one thing that we can bring in and that can give us a leapfrog moment?
In terms of what? In terms of the way you operate, or in terms of amendment to the regulations, or what actually? I mean, your question is.
So, my question was more from a perspective of the ultimate beneficiary, the end consumer. With everything the sector does, obviously, India is sitting at a cusp of just kind of exploding. So, how can the BFS make the leapfrog?
Sure. So I would only have one recommendation, in which I've already told while having a panel discussion, is also that there has to be a uniform KYC across India. Come what may be, in whatever sector you are, it be it insurance, mutual fund, or your stockbroking, or or like in otherwise banking sector also, you need to have a common KYC norm for account opening. There has to be a common repository for saving all the documents, and there has to be a common agency also. Same repository only will coordinate with the client at a large for the regular updations. The intermediaries are facing a challenge on that front, because the client do have a resistance in sharing a same document multiple times. If I take an insurance policy, I have to give a separate document. If I open an account, I have to give a separate document. Why can't it get downloaded from a common agencies, right? Why we have between banking and capital market, there is the project going on central KYC, which is half done, but I think still there is a long way to go. And I'm sure for overall penetrations for customer, there has to be a common KYC, which would definitely help all the intermediaries as well as client to move seamlessly and without any much issue at a client level. I know that it calls for a lot of regulatory amendments, a lot of discussion across stakeholders, but I think once once we know the outcome would be very good, I think the amendments and the changes will not take much time.
Yeah, so I think I completely agree with what Nehal mentioned. I think central KYC or common KYC regime would certainly simplify a lot of things for the customer and for the BFSI sector, per se as well. One more important element which it will bring, and it's important for us to discuss for a couple of minutes on this, is I think BFSI is a services industry, and it's important for all the institutions and entities to stay connected with the customer throughout the journey, throughout the life cycle, whether it's a banking product, it's an insurance product, or it's other financial services product. And a common integrated view of a customer and any kind of a common platform through which the entities can get updated contact information on regular basis and verify the contact information will help insurance companies and other entities to stay connected, continue to provide relevant information, and also service at the highest amount of standards. I think so. I think it's completely fair to expect that when we are having more than 1.3 billion people in the country, and we're talking about financial inclusion, or we are talking about taking financial services to the grassroots levels, there's a lot of churn of contact information, whether it's address or it's telephone numbers, etc., is going to happen. If we need sustainable, base to build on this, I think common KYC and a common pool which can help verify the contact information on regular basis is one, I think, important need which will help the BFSI sector in a large way.
So we have one more question that's, sorry, Jay, you were saying something?
No, I was just thanking them.
Okay. Yeah. So if you could tell us a bit more on the challenges faced in the dispute resolution and the gray areas in the law in this regard.
So I think, Jyoti, I think this question is more relevant for some of our other panelists as well, but I'll just try to make an attempt in this particular thing. I think as industries mature, and I'll probably giving a little higher level answer here, and please bear with me on that particular front. I think as industries, and the BFSI sector, when we are talking in particular, mature, there will be a lot of interplays between various institutions which will come in, and I think disputes are going to arise as part of that as well. For having a seamless, interactions and not bringing too much stress in the commercial arrangements, I think dispute resolution plays an important role. And there are a lot of legal angles which have come in the last few years, and there are various avenues and various redressal forums which have emerged. I think it's important that the pace of how the legal provisions are maturing and how the actual adaptation of the same provisions in the practical world, how it's applying, the pace has to come at par. What generally what institutions feel is that there is a gap between both these factors in terms of how the pace of legal provisions are coming in and the pace of how the industry is developing. There is a gap. So I think if we are able to bridge this particular gap and use whatever avenues are there for dispute resolution, I think so. That's an important part which the industry needs.
And I would just add here is that again the various courts, right? I mean, your local courts, your high courts, your Supreme Court, the security appellate tribunals, your NCLT worlds. I think across all there is a huge need to adapt a technology at a high speed because there is a huge amount of backlog available, and it is not, and look at this, all the disputes are actually frozen, they are moving ahead. So it's very important, it's very, very important that people across in judiciary should move towards adopting the technology as a way of life. I would also look at that, currently our, if you look at our agreements and all, we'll have a jurisdiction clause that, if something goes wrong, the Mumbai court will handle the matter, or let's say Delhi court will handle the matter. And now those things will go basically, because if we are going to, after 2 years or 3 years down the line, everything will be, even the hearing will happen on the laptop or on the such kind of forum. So I think those clauses in agreement also have to relook at it. The act which says that you need to decide upfront that where the litigation would be handled in which jurisdictions and all. I think this all will get evolved with the time, and I think there will be a lot of flexibility will come into picture. And once the courts across nation adopt the digitization as a part of their handling system, I think the movement of resolutions also will go very high.
You. One thought came to my mind, which I thought that beyond the panel discussion, that this is a sector which is plagued with a lot of scams and wrongdoings have happened, willful defaulters, all of that we talk of. What do you see the future of this sector? How are they going to be able to reduce the wrongdoings that are happening, the steps being taken to prevent this?
I think to answer this question, I think fraud or wrongdoing would happen across all the sectors. The BFSI always comes into limelight because it deals with a public saving, be it your fixed deposits or be it your bank accounts or be it your investments or be it anything. I mean, when it comes to the money of public at large, the BFSI comes into limelight for even a small thing also. However, saying that, like, if something has gone wrong, regulators have, believe me, has taken extremely faster step to ensure that, it doesn't happen again. I mean, from my own experience, I have come across with so many cases where, something has gone wrong in the industry by one player, possibly inadvertently also. The regulators have come out with the circular immediately, kind of, giving a path that how you should handle the scenario in future. Same is with the case of insider trading law. Same is the case with a takeover code. Same is the case with, across all the capital market regulations. So the regulators are also kind of, do a lot of consultation from industry, and there is a continuous exchange of ideas and problems shared between two parties. And that's where I think they are also taking enough steps to ensure that event doesn't happen again. For example, if you look at what had happened in Sahara, has already been plugged under Companies Act and LODR regulation. Like that, there are many instances, for example, where the regulators have taken immediate steps to cover up, those things so that it doesn't get repeated in the system, is what I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just make a short addition to what Nihal just mentioned. I think so. Uh, and I agree. I think BFSI sector, because they are handling public money, obviously they are in limelight. And one added thing which is also important for us to also understand is that the level of public disclosure which BFSI sector is required to make is also at one of the highest levels as compared to some of the many other sectors. And now, which anyways, the moment you have highest amount of public disclosures, you'll have questions being raised, rightfully so as well. I think so. That's completely important. The second point which I just want to add is when obviously there are thousands and lakhs of transactions which will happen, there would be certain amount of miscreants which will probably creep in. But I think the regulatory framework and the corporate framework now across the BFSI sector protects the interest of the customers. I think, and that's the important link. Whenever this is being faced, I think the corporate policies, the corporate directions, even the regulatory direction is that the customer has to be compensated and the companies have to absorb, which automatically brings all the control framework in place. Because I think every corporate is sensible enough that if I have to compensate the loss, I need to also have mechanisms to also ensure that I minimize that fraud loss or any miscreant loss. So this has evolved, I think, over the last few years. In fact, last one decade, there are various steps on the regulatory and the corporate side which has come into play, and this will continue to evolve. I think the parallel industry or the fraud industry, sometimes what we say, will continue to evolve as well. While the traditional frauds will go on, we talk about cyber risk and cyber frauds which will come in as well. So while these will continue to evolve and shift, I think at the same time the BFSI sector is building mechanisms and has built mechanisms to detect it and prevent it as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We've got very encouraging feedback from the audience as well. We will definitely share any questions that have come other than this with you all and seek your answers on them. And we'll look forward to have you in our forthcoming sessions as well. Hope you enjoy the next session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Jyoti.
much.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Anita. Thank you, Jaideep. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Please stay back and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
See you. Bye.